This is Sarah Squires bringing you behind the headlines in today's edition of WYO Today Newsroom. As lawmakers have been at a standoff over funding the federal government for over a month, news about the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, has been swirling. The program, also known as food stamps, assists low-income families and individuals with a food-only debit card loaded with funds each month. And due to the shutdown, those funds were expected to be cut off starting this month. In Wyoming, around 13,000 households and 29,000 individuals receive assistance through SNAP, with the average monthly benefit around $386 per household. It costs about $5.2 to $5.4 million in funding per month in Wyoming, for around $62 million in benefits in 2024. Children and the elderly receive the majority of benefits in the Cowboy State. Last week, Governor Mark Gordon's office indicated it was studying how it might work to find a solution for hungry families if the shutdown were to cut off that assistance at the federal level. And on Friday, Governor Gordon announced that he had declared a public welfare emergency and issued an executive order. The order authorized up to $10 million in state emergency funds to ensure Wyoming families continue to have access to food under a SNAP funding shutoff.
We want to make sure that our people are fed first and foremost. We want to make sure that our families, veterans, seniors, and children get nutritious, wholesome food. I think when people can't eat, and we've got dozens of people being turned away at food banks and trying to find ways to feed themselves, I would qualify that as an emergency.
The executive order directs the Wyoming Department of Family Services to coordinate with the state budget director to deploy emergency funds to charitable organizations and churches, which have food banks, pantries, and mobile food pantries that distribute food to Wyomingites. It also directs DFS to issue grant agreements to ensure the funds are widely available to those organizations to assure nutritional food is widely available. Finally, the order directs the director of DFS to submit a proposal for the distribution of the funds to the governor for his review and approval. This hunger relief plan will provide cost estimates and lay out how the emergency support will be administered as long as the shutdown continues. The governor also directed the state to restrict the purchase of low nutritional foods with SNAP benefits. Under an executive order, he directed DFS to begin the process of submitting a waiver request to the federal government to allow the state to begin restricting the use of SNAP funds for certain foods that offer little or no nutritional value, like soda and candy. DFS is expected to conduct a review of low nutrition food that's currently available under federal SNAP rules, then determine which should be excluded in Wyoming. The office will then formulate a phased rollout to ensure accuracy and reduce administrative burdens on retailers. As Governor Gordon made that announcement, wheels were turning at the federal court level after a coalition of local governments, nonprofits, businesses, and workers' rights advocacy organizations filed a lawsuit challenging the legality of the funding shutoff. They argued that emergency funds were available for SNAP and that the Trump administration had, quote, needlessly plunged the program into crisis. First, in a separate case challenging the SNAP funding cutoff, a Boston judge ruled the administration's attempt to suspend funding was unlawful. But rather than ordering funding, the judge ordered the Trump administration to report back by Monday on how it would restore funding for the program, adding that the plaintiffs arguing for SNAP to continue would likely succeed in court. That same day, Friday, Rhode Island U.S. District Judge John McConnell Jr. presided over an hour-long emergency hearing, after which he ruled that the suspension of SNAP funding is arbitrary and likely to cause irreparable harm. He said that the threat of a cutoff of SNAP food assistance has caused some people terror about feeding their families. Despite the court rulings, the issue hasn't been settled. President Trump said on Truth Social Friday that his lawyers suggest they don't have the legal authority to pay SNAP with available funds. The president suggested the courts should provide direction on where exactly the funds should come from. Judge McConnell ordered the Trump administration to continue paying for the program using emergency funds and to notify the court today about how SNAP would be funded.